Hi, I'm Anna.
And I'm Andy, and today we'll be taking you through the best...
Andy?
Yep?
You had a haircut?
I have actually, thanks for noticing. Today we'll be taking you through some of the best running socks available on the market at the moment.
That's right, but before we dive in, make sure you subscribe and tap the bell icon to make sure you're always up to date with our hilarious videos.
This is ridiculous, I'm out.
Something I said?
Before we go through our sock recommendations, it's worth touching on some of the more important differences between socks that might help you to determine which type of sock is right for you. Things like thickness and cushioning, moisture control, material, and length.
Socks designed for racing, for example, tend to be more lightweight and have less cushioning, much like racing shoes. Other socks are better at removing or wicking away moisture, or especially designed to reduce the chances of you developing blisters.
Sock height is also important. I, for example, prefer above ankle or quarter length socks, whereas other runners prefer their socks to be below the ankle or no show. It's best to find socks that fit the shape of your foot well too. Too snug, for example, around the arch and you might experience discomfort. Too loose and you run the risk of blisters or chafing. Similarly, different thicknesses of socks can completely change the way your shoes fit, so it's worth thinking about them in combination.
We won't be touching on compression socks in this particular video because that is a whole other video in itself. And it's important to note that none of the brands featured have paid us to say nice things about their products. These are mine and Andy's genuine opinions. These are the performance socks from ZOUMA, a relatively new British brand. They're environmentally friendly. Each pair of these on-ankle socks are made up from around 11 recycled bottles. So aside from being made from recyclable materials, each sock has a reinforced heel and toe, and the compression arch support also helps with stability for your foot. The rear heel tab is super cushioned, so it sits between your Achilles and your shoe to save you from painful heel blisters. It's made from moisture-wicking materials that encourage ventilation, so my foot didn't feel like it got too sweaty even in warmer conditions. Another thing that I really love about ZOUMA is that the connective tab that comes with them is completely compostable, because you do tend to find that with a lot of socks they come with plastic tabs. And ZOUMA also plants a tree for every pair sold. Under Armour claim these are their fastest drying socks ever, thanks to the Armour Dry Yarn technology that lets moisture from your foot disperse evenly and evaporate quicker. Putting them on, the best word that I can use to describe them is silky. There's moderate cushioning at the toes, heel, arch and forefoot. They also have a mesh upper to help with ventilation. They've got anti-odor technology to stop your socks from harbouring any stinky bacteria. I got the women's size 3 to 7.5, and as a 6.5, I actually felt they came up a little on the large size. So for anyone with smaller feet than that, you may need to size down. Also a note, they are white, and if you can tell, they are a little bit on the grubby side too. I have washed them, but clearly white is not the colour for me.
These lightweight running socks from SMARTWOOL aim to provide a balance between performance and cushioning. So they have targeted cushioning around the ball of the foot and the heel. Now, they're not what I would describe as a padded sock, but they do give you a nice nod to cushioning when you put them on with your running shoes, which gives you a really nice feel. Now, I will say that the ankle opening itself is actually quite tight, so if you're in between sizes, I'd recommend sizing up. I've worn SMARTWOOL socks for hiking for absolutely ages, and they do feel more or less indestructible. And in fact, these are made from something called indestructible, so there you go. They don't feel like they've got any seams that intrude when you're running, so all in all, a smooth, comfortable sock.
SWIFTWICK's Aspire 1 socks are made for running and cycling, so they are made out of a thin composite material that's consisting of nylon, olefin and lycra, all of which combine to give the sock great ventilation and a barely there feel. So even though they're thin, they still provide firm compression around the foot to reduce fatigue. So this particular length sits on the ankle, which gives just enough coverage to stop shoe on skin irritation, but you can get the Aspire in a variety of lengths, from the no-show like these all the way up to calf length, depending on your preference. So what I really liked about this particular sock is the lightness of them. So I wore these for a race. They felt really comfortable and felt really good with my lighter racing shoes, as some of the other socks on test are a little bit thicker and more cushioned, which can feel a little bit heavy.
These are the Race Elite Pro Sock from inov-8, who you might be more familiar with. They're pretty hardcore ultra and trail running shoes. Now these are some of the socks on test that have an anatomical fit, so a different sock for the left and the right. Have a really nice grip around the arch of your foot to hold them in place, and some fairly minimalist but appreciated cushioning around the toes and the heel. They're also a slightly longer length, which I love because as I tend to get tired on a run, I'll often clip my ankles with the inside of my shoe, and these protect me from that. And also they stop any debris from falling down into socks, which can happen if you're wearing a lower cut sock. Another option from inov-8 are the MERINO LITE, a much more lightweight, minimalist sock, tighter fitting, made from a merino fabric. More of a performance sock because they don't provide any cushioning at all. I've enjoyed wearing these with my snugger fitting trail shoes on longer runs where they keep me dry and cool.
Runderwear is a familiar face on the running underwear scene, as their name suggests. In fact, we featured their original support Runder bra in the Sports Bras Roundup earlier this year, so why not give that a watch? Back to socks then, and the Runderwear cushioning socks live up to their name. There are carefully placed cushion panels in the heel and around the toe, which help protect your foot from any kind of aggravation whilst running. So it's worth saying that a cushioned sock doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be heavy, thick or overly padded. In this instance, the sock is made of a single layer of breathable fabric, which combined with vented panels around the arch helps your foot stay cool. Other features include a midfoot grip around the arch to keep the sock in place and a hand-finished design that has minimal seams for optimal comfort. I did find that the Runderwear sock came up a little on the large side, so as a UK 6.5, I've got the medium size, and I did find that they were a little bit too long for me, so that's worth bearing in mind when you pick the size for this particular sock. And if you're looking for something a little bit more cushioned and with anti-odor properties, then you can try out the Runderwear MERINO socks instead. SWIFTWICK boldly described these as feeling like clouds beneath your feet, and actually they're not far off. I love these socks, they are so comfy. The underside's made from high volume fibres, so they provide a high level of underfoot cushioning. The sock itself has a more relaxed fit, though not so much that you're prone to developing blisters. So if you're not a fan of socks with higher compression, then these might suit you a bit better. One thing I did notice is that if you're a fan of the L and R on the socks for left and right, these don't have them. And I was a bit confused on first wear because they both say M on them for the size, as in medium. The upper is thin and lightweight, so that encourages moisture dispersal and keeps your feet cool and dry. SWIFTWICK say that these socks are best suited to running, fitness and golf. Can't really confirm the last two, but they are definitely excellent for running. Who knew that a pair of socks could contain a lot of tech? Not me until I read the blurb about ENERTOR's Energy Run socks. So they boast a patented nanoglide anti-blister protection mechanism, what a mouthful, and a type of energy return fibre that ENERTOR claim converts your body's energy into infrared rays that are reabsorbed by the body to increase your overall performance. I can't say that I noticed a massive difference to my performance whilst wearing these, but marginal gains are always good. The sock also contains an antimicrobial yarn that protects against bad smells and an energy knit band that flexes with your foot as it moves and bends. That is a lot of tech for a small pair of socks. All in all, I found them comfy and light. Can't say I got any blisters whilst wearing them, and they're an ideal pair for faster running, so anything on a track or racing.
Continuing the anti-blister theme, we've got two different pairs of socks from HILLY, both of which aim to reduce the chafing between your feet and the surrounding materials, but in very different ways. Now first up is the toe SOCKLET, which as you can see has a very unique selling point, and that is that it separates your toes with these little toe pockets. Now these are an acquired taste, and actually they're a little bit fiddly to get on. And once you've got them on, it does feel a little bit strange to have your toes separated in that way. But ultimately the aim here is to have your toes separated by material physically, so that the material rubs together rather than your toes. They're a super soft material, they're really comfortable, and they fit really nicely around the arch. The next option from HILLY is the TWINSKIN anklet, and this aims to reduce chafing in a totally different way, and that's by having two separate layers of material that make up the sock itself. The idea being that those layers of material are what rub together, rather than your foot against your sock, or your sock and foot against the shoe. The two layers of fabric together provide a nice weight to the sock, so a nice thickness and small protection in terms of cushioning. I will say that you need to spend some time getting them on properly, particularly after a few washes, because the two layers of fabric can be quite fiddly to align and feel like you haven't got any wrinkles, because ultimately you're wearing these to protect yourself from blisters.
It's not often you see a sock advertised as containing a precious metal, but Balega are offering just that with their silver no-show socks. But why make a sock out of fibres containing silver ions? Well, silver is one of several metals that is a natural microbicide, meaning it gets rid of bacteria around your foot and shoe that might develop when you sweat. In turn, this stops odours building up whilst you're running. But there is more to this sock than just a silver lining. It also contains Balega's super soft moisture management fabric known as Dynamics, which helps wick moisture away from your foot. The sock also has a compression arch around the midfoot and a high heel tab to reduce heel rub between your skin and your shoe. I really enjoyed this sock and found it super comfy on my long run. It is very cushioned, so if you're not used to such a high level of cushioning in your sock, then it might take a little bit of getting used to. But as I say, super comfy for longer runs. Balega's blister-resistant socks are made from a combination of the Dynamics fibres like in the silver no-shows and mohair, a material that helps prevent blisters. They've also got an enhanced elastic grip, which combined with the extra deep heel pocket keeps the sock in place on your foot. The toe is seamless too to prevent skin rub and general irritation. And one thing that I really love about Balega as a brand is actually the packaging. So each pair of socks comes with a little quality control sticker on it because all of their socks are hand inspected and the sticker actually has a picture of the person who inspected them and their name on them as well. And on the actual packaging itself, there's a volume and cushioning scale, so you can see how much volume or cushioning is in each of the socks based on Balega's scale. A really nice touch from them.
This section of the video is for the socks, which we really wanted to include because they're great, but we didn't necessarily have a category for them, so we've called them the all-rounders. First up is Grip 6's Overland blue sock, which is made from merino wool, which is all sourced locally close to their HQ in Utah in the US. That wool aims to keep you dry and comfortable all day long, and in fact these are called a four-season sock because they're capable of being worn all year round, and actually because of that they're more padded than most of the other socks on test. They feel nice and warm, but you do need to bear in mind they're providing extra cushioning, so they might fit slightly differently in terms of how your shoes feel. And finally, they have a lifetime guarantee, which is one of the most American things I've ever heard, but means that they'll replace any socks that get worn out, which is pretty cool. The 1000-mile run socklet is a low-cut sock that's worth talking about because of the padding around the toes, ball of the foot and the heel, which strikes a really nice balance between providing you with cushioning but without feeling too bulky. It also extends up towards your Achilles to protect it from, I don't know, scooters or small dogs. Also worth noting that the grip around the arch of the foot is slightly looser than some of the others, so if you don't want the sock to be too tight or you've got slightly wider feet, then these could be for you. If you're looking for a performance running sock that also provides a good degree of cushioning, then look no further. Stance's franchise running crew sock provides what they describe as medium cushioning. So that's thicker than a lot of the other socks that we've tested here, particularly the performance focused ones. Provides a nice degree of cushioning but not too thick. Now these are the socks that come in a 3-pack that I've actually spent my own money on. Arguably Stance are too cool for me, but I really like the length and the design of these, and I wear them for anything from my tempo runs right up to my longest Sunday runs. But I would say they're probably a little bit too thick, maybe a little bit too heavy for real performance running, so whether that might be racing or track work. Okay, now it's time for us each to choose our top picks from the roundup. And as ever, I'm sitting on the fence and hedging my bets with two different options. On this side, I've got the Stance franchise crew running sock, which I love for all of my runs right the way up to my longest Sunday run. And on this side, I've got inov-8's MERINO LITE, which I love from a performance perspective. It's thinner and it feels better in my racing shoes or my tighter fitting trail shoes.
I've also been influenced by Andy picking two and have gone for two as well, for two different reasons. So I've got the SWIFTWICK Aspire ones, so they're nice and lightweight and felt really good racing in those ones. And then on the other side, I've got the Balega Silver no-shows. They're so soft, so cushioned, and just felt like they really looked after my feet on my longest runs.
Did any of those socks stand out for you? Have you got a personal favourite pair? Or do we miss any out? Let us know in the comments below.
And we'll see you next.
And we'll see you next time on the Running Channel.